In the world of glitz and glamour, Lee Min-ho is a name that commands attention. With his flawless visuals, captivating charisma, and unforgettable performances in dramas like Boys Over Flowers, The Heirs, and The King, Eternal Monarch, he seems to lead the perfect life. But behind the billion-won smile lies a story so heartbreaking, so powerful, that it has remained hidden from the spotlight, until now. This is the deeply emotional, jaw-dropping tale of how Lee Min-ho lost the two people who meant everything to him, his parents. A journey filled with twists, tears, and shocking truths, told in a way that will shake your soul. Born on June 22, 1987, in Seoul, South Korea, Lee Min-ho's early life appeared ordinary. A quiet boy with dreams of becoming a football player, his home was filled with laughter, warmth, and the gentle hum of his mother singing while preparing breakfast. His father, a reserved but affectionate man, would often take Lee Min-ho and his sister to the park on weekends. But as early as age 7, shadows began to creep into his life. His father's business, once thriving, collapsed due to a betrayal from his most trusted friend. The financial pressure took its toll, but more devastatingly, it sowed seeds of conflict that would later grow into a nightmare. It was a rainy night in October. Min-ho, then 14, had returned home from middle school late because of football practice. As he turned the key and stepped into the dark apartment, a chill ran down his spine. The television was on, but muted. The hallway lights flickered ominously. Something wasn't right. "Mom," he called out. No answer. He stepped into the living room and found his mother unconscious on the floor, a half-written letter clenched in her hand. Panic-stricken, he called emergency services. As paramedics worked to revive her, his world spun. Minutes later, the worst was confirmed. She was gone. The cause? A heart attack brought on by years of unspoken stress and silent depression. But that wasn't the end. As if fate hadn't been cruel enough, only 2 months later, his father was found in a remote mountain village after being missing for days. The official report said, accidental fall. But rumors in the village whispered of something darker, a man who couldn't bear the guilt of letting his family fall apart. Min-ho never spoke about the specifics, but those closest to him said he aged 10 years overnight. With no parents and only a teenage sister to rely on, Lee Min-ho's life spiraled. He was sent to live with distant relatives who treated him more like a burden than family. There were nights he went to bed hungry, his stomach aching and his mind haunted by his mother's final expression. But it was during this time that something miraculous happened. His love for performance and storytelling ignited. In the darkest corners of his grief, he began mimicking actors from dramas he watched alone at night. It was his escape, his therapy. By age 17, he had made up his mind. He would act, not for fame, but to honor the memory of his parents. To live a life they would be proud of. Lee Min-ho's first steps into the entertainment industry were filled with hardship. Auditions were brutal. He was rejected more times than he could count. But nothing compared to what happened in 2006. He had just landed a minor role in a drama when he was involved in a horrific car accident. The crash left him hospitalized for months, with severe injuries to his leg and thigh that required metal implants. Some doctors feared he'd never walk normally again. But Min-ho refused to give up. As he lay in that sterile hospital bed, his body broken and spirit battered, he whispered a vow to himself. I lost my parents. I lost my childhood. But I won't lose this dream. In 2009, the world met Lee Min-ho as Gu Junpyo in Boys Over Flowers. His curly hair, intense gaze, and irresistible charm turned him into a global sensation overnight. What fans didn't know was that behind the camera, Min-ho was silently shedding tears during filming. One scene, a farewell between a son and his mother, hit so close to home that he nearly collapsed after the take. He later revealed in a rare interview that he channeled his real-life grief to deliver that unforgettable performance. Over the years, fans began to notice strange patterns in his work. In many dramas, he played characters who had lost a parent or had a strained family bond. Coincidence? Not quite. During the filming of The Legend of the Blue Sea, Min-ho reportedly requested the writers to add a flashback scene where his character visits his mother's grave. That scene, so emotionally raw, was never part of the original script. It was Min-ho's silent tribute. He believes his parents visit him in dreams. He once shared with a friend that before his big awards night, He dreamt of his mother standing in a white hanbok, smiling at him and saying, "Asterisk, my son, you made it." Asterisk. What many don't know is that Lee MinHo quietly funds an orphan scholarship program through a secret foundation under a pseudonym. Every year, dozens of children without parents receive education, therapy, and housing, paid for by someone they will never meet, but who understands their pain more than anyone else ever could. One recipient even wrote in a blog post, Asterisk, I never knew who funded my scholarship, but one day, while watching Pachinko, I cried without knowing why. It was the same man who saved my life through kindness. Lee MinHo. Asterisk. Now in his 30s, Lee MinHo continues to dazzle audiences across the globe. But his smile, fans say, carries a depth that only comes from walking through fire. In a 2023 interview, when asked what motivates him, he simply replied, Asterisk, I've lost everything that can be lost. What remains is not fear, but purpose. Asterisk. He keeps a locket in his private drawer, a faded photo of his parents holding him as a baby. That locket has traveled with him to every film set, every award ceremony, every lonely hotel room. Lee MinHo's story is not just about fame, beauty, or talent. It's about loss, resilience, and the silent battles we all carry behind our smiles. In a world that often idolizes perfection, he reminds us that pain can shape greatness, that the brightest stars are often born from the darkest nights. So the next time you see Lee MinHo lighting up your screen, remember the little boy who once cried alone in a cold apartment, and rose to become a king not just in K-dramas, but in life. The clock had just struck 9:47 p.m. when the rain began to fall, heavy, unrelenting, like the universe was trying to cry out for what was about to happen. Lee MinHo, only 14 at the time, stood at the bus stop a few blocks from their modest Seoul apartment. His school bag was soaked. He'd stayed late at football practice. He had scored his first goal that afternoon. He had dreamed of running into the apartment, bursting with pride, and telling his mother everything. She always smiled when he told her good news. Always. But the smile he longed to see that night would never come again. As MinHo climbed the steps to their third-floor unit, a strange unease stirred in his gut. He paused at the door. It was slightly ajar. "Mom!" he called softly, pushing it open. Silence. The living room was dimly lit. The air was thick, heavy with something indescribable. The old wall clock ticked. The TV was glowing but silent, flickering shadows on the wall like ghostly dancers. "Mom!" he repeated, his voice trembling. That's when he saw her. She was lying on the floor near the couch, one hand reaching toward the table. Her face was pale, lips slightly parted. A single tear had dried on her cheek. MinHo dropped everything, his bag, his shoes, his soul. He ran to her side, shook her gently. "Mom! Mom, wake up! It's me. It's MinHo." Nothing. Her hand was cold. Shaking, he dialed emergency services. The operator's voice blurred into a distant hum as he followed instructions. Check for breathing, lay her flat, don't panic. But how do you not panic when your entire world is slipping away beneath your hands? He held her hand and whispered desperately, "You can't leave me. You said we'd eat ramen tonight. You promised, remember?" As the paramedics stormed in, one of them gently pried something from her hand, a folded piece of paper. MinHo watched, dazed, as they worked. Oxygen masks, chest compressions, heart monitors. Time slowed. The letter was passed to a female paramedic, who hesitated, glanced at the boy on the floor, then opened it with trembling fingers. Her eyes welled as she read. /under to my children. I'm sorry. I tried to be strong. I tried to smile through everything, but the pain became louder than my heart. I love you both more than life. Please forgive me for being weak. Please take care of each other. Mom, /under. MinHo didn't see the letter. He only saw the moment they stopped CPR. The moment they looked at each other. The moment one of them slowly shook his head. "No. No, no, no," MinHo whispered. His world imploded. They let him sit beside her body for a few moments before taking her away. He clutched her lifeless hand, now cold as porcelain, and sobbed until he couldn't breathe. That night, the apartment was filled with silence, and a boy who had just lost the person who loved him most. He didn't sleep. He just sat on the couch, staring at the photo on the wall, his mother, laughing during a picnic, holding a younger MinHo in her lap. He whispered again and again, "Why didn't you tell me you were hurting?" 3 nights after the funeral, MinHo had a dream he would never forget. He was back in the living room. The lights were warm, the air smelled of kimchi stew. And there she was, his mother, standing by the stove in her favorite yellow sweater. "Mom," he said, confused. She turned to him, smiling. "Did you eat?" she asked, just like she always used to. "I miss you," he said. She stepped closer, brushing his cheek. "I'm sorry, MinHo. But you're strong. You always were. You just didn't know it yet." Tears streamed down his face. "Don't go. Please. Just stay a little longer." She kissed his forehead. "Live, my son. Live beautifully." And then she faded, like mist under morning sunlight. He woke up crying. Years later, Lee MinHo would often speak about that dream, not publicly, but to those closest to him. He said it was what pulled him back from the edge. In his dressing room before shoots, he sometimes closed his eyes and whispered, "Are you watching, Mom?" Before stepping in front of the camera. There's a reason why in so many of his roles, the grief feels real. Because it is. During the filming of The Heirs, there was a scene where his character, Kim Tan, watches his mother leave him behind. That day on set, something unusual happened. As the director called, "Cut," MinHo didn't stop crying. The crew stood in silence as the actor sat on the floor, shoulders shaking, face buried in his hands. No one dared interrupt. Later, he told the director, "That wasn't just acting. That was real." To this day, Lee MinHo keeps that last letter. Not in a frame, not on display, but folded tightly and hidden in the lining of his wallet. Every time he travels, every award show, every drama set, it's with him, a reminder of what he lost, and why he keeps going. Lee MinHo is more than a global superstar. He is a son who carries grief like a shadow. A boy who lost his mother in the silence of a rainy night and found strength in the ashes of his sorrow. That single heartbreaking night, his mother's final moments, the quiet apartment, the letter, was the turning point. It didn't break him. It built him. And now, every smile he gives, every tear he sheds on screen, is not just acting, it's life. It's memory. It's love. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, emotional celebrity stories that go beyond the spotlight. Lee MinHo's journey reminds us all, behind every star, there's a story of unimaginable strength. ***.